When you do bring schools together and make them a part of a community, each school's individual sort of deficit is not a problem. The idea of school complexes was first mooted in the Kothari Commission report, which was in the 1960s. So in a odd way, it's not a new idea. It's something that was thought about. There was a rationale for it, and that rationale has not evolved very much either. So the reasons in the NEP being given right now as to why we should organize schools into complexes is very similar to what was said in the Kothari Commission report as well. I think the departure is that it was advised, but it was never fully implemented. So there is also some examples of it being attempted. So it's not true that it was not implemented at all. So there are states like Telangana, Andhra, Goa, for instance, that I know of that have school complexes, that get budgets to do school complex meetings. They had a school complex principal or a headmaster. So, to break it down in terms of what this whole idea of school complexes is, and it's an entire it's an entire section in the NEP. The idea is that you have a lot of you have small schools in many parts of India, especially because of the neighborhood rule of having one primary school per kilometer. Many of the schools, as it turns out, are very small and have, the NEP talks about 28% of primary schools not having more than 30 children. And what that does is it makes the school a very sort of non-viable environment for stimulating learning. It's also difficult for teachers to sort of manage that spectrum of grades and that spectrum of age when they don't have a critical mass to teach a particular class. So the idea being that instead of having many tiny schools that can't provide all of the things within that one school, can you expand the unit of sort of operation to a cluster or a complex where each individual school does not need to have everything, but as a whole, they end up having all of the facilities and the counselors and the teachers and the sports XYZ. So it's sort of like saying you're creating like a boundary around a bunch of schools where a secondary school is also part of that group. And you have a secondary school surrounded by this cluster of primary schools, which in totality are able to cater to all the educational needs of all the children. So I think, see, the positive implications definitely are that when you do bring schools together and make them a part of a community, each school's individual sort of deficit is not a problem. The second is, of course, in terms of peer effects and teachers having access to a group of communities and communities of practice that they can get together with. Now, what's really important here is that it's not that this is not present even today. So, even now you have the cluster model and then the block model and then the district model, right, where you have schools essentially that are part of that are administered as one cluster and that are administered as one block. So I think that what the school complex idea in NEP is doing is it's taking that a lot further by saying that it's not simply that these schools are part of one administrative unit, they also become sort of a semi-autonomous operational unit. The second positive really is decentralization of power, right? Now, the NEP is talking about wanting to empower these units, the school complexes, making them semi-autonomous, whereby they're really able to take a lot of their own decisions. If that is to happen, then that would be extremely positive. The first on school complexes is that I think it's really critical to establish what will be the kind of operational and administrative unit and who will be the lead school or who will be the head of this unit. It seems to me to be a deliberate omission because it was there in the draft and it's not there now. So it seems interesting as to why that's been omitted. So I think that is sorely needed. And I think that perhaps, the guess is obviously that states will be asked to sort of come up with their own models. And in all likelihood, it will default to, if it is implemented, it will default to secondary school principals being essentially told that they are the heads of the school complex. But if that is to be the case, then a lot more operational nitty-gritty is required to kind of shore them up to play that role, give them the sort of time and wiggle room, give them the autonomy as well as, of course, funds, right? Funds and of how to sort of deal with all this new complex situation. The second part which cuts across NEP really is on funds, right? I mean, all throughout, there's this question of who's going to pay for all of this and how much is it going to cost and what is it going to cost. And more than how much money, it's also that how do we make sure that the money that is allocated for all of this work is put to efficient use? So if I have to use the funds for the purpose that they have been given, it links back to my original point of then who are we holding accountable and who is the head of this entire process? If that is not clarified within the school complex model, it will just simply become a kind of, I mean, it'll just fall into apathy, I suppose. In terms of, if you look at the language in the document, it's actually very clearly saying that school closures will not be the kind of only way to deal with small schools. And the truth is that one, it's possibly very difficult to shut all the small schools down that have come up, right? So if you're not able to do that, how do you make those small schools viable, right? How do you create an environment and a pedagogy for education that is helping everybody within that system? How do you create an ecosystem for learning, for growth? So I think the school complex policy is essentially saying that we're going to just knit small schools to larger schools so that without having to shut them, they can continue to operate, but now operate in a way that is much more viable and that's more stimulating. And it's in some sense, benefiting the community rather than just simply being a brick and mortar structure with perhaps some children inside. The thing with at the level of policy, it's not new. Especially states have tried this, and states have advocated for this. The buddy system, trying to get either private and public schools paired up, model schools paired up with the government schools. So I think really the issue is always around both implementation and incentives, right? I mean, what is the incentive of the private school to do this? What is the incentive of the public school to do this? So I think that is one question that definitely stands on. But especially in the case of pairing with private schools, I would say that there's a double incentive issue here where there doesn't seem to be an incentive on either side to do this unless it is mandated from the top, in which case you are eroding the sort of local autonomy. So then you fall into that problem of not being able to empower schools because of letting schools make their own decisions.